Okay, so tonight, and I'm going to be referring to my notes a lot because I've got 6 pages here, and you will get these. You will get these notes, but I'm afraid I'm going to be forgetting stuff and whatever. So this is going to be very difficult this year. I mean, it's going to be very different for almost all of us because people aren't going to be able to travel. They're not going to be able to get together. They're going to be, if they can get together, we're going to be afraid to get together. I was saying before that I usually have a house full of people, and I've called up my brother, my sister to disinvite them because people assume that they're invited every year. But both of them had said that they, didn't plan on coming. I mean, my brother usually goes away. If he can come, he does. But and of course, then I'm going to visit her family. But he said no. He assumed we weren't going to be getting together. But it makes it kind of tough. We're just going to be my son who lives in the neighborhood, and his wife and the 2 kids that we babysit for. So that's I'm used to having 14, 20 people. So having 6 is going to be kind of funny. I said to my husband that I wasn't going to cook I was only going to bake 1 pie. Did he want apple or, pumpkin? 1 pie? I thought he was just going to I said, John, 2 people, we can't eat 2 pies left over, So anyway, so there's a lot of things going on. And, a lot of what I'm going to say may not apply to this year, but it will apply to, the future. And one of the things is, the best advice I can give you is make lists, make lots of lists, and save your lists after you use them for next year. One of the first things you probably should do, because most of us, especially women, make themselves absolutely nuts about, getting this done and that done, the other thing done. And it's not going to be Christmas if we don't do this. And it's not going to be Christmas or Thanksgiving if we don't do that. Sometimes it helps to ask your family what they like about the holidays, the way you've been celebrating them, and what don't they like. And it's really surprising what they might say to you, because you might find out that they really hate that 27-layer cake that you kill yourself to make every year. Well, you're off the hook. Don't do it. Do something else. Change it up. Okay. Or you might be surprised to find out that, oh yes, they love all those little stocking stuffers that you wrap, like cheap things, but things that you find that, oh, so-and-so will like this, so-and-so will, and you put them in their stockings. And that's like such a treat for them, opening their stocking. So, so the point of asking your family is that you might find out that, you're spending a lot of time and effort on things that really don't matter to them. And, you're doing it for them. And so if it doesn't matter to them, let it go. As I go along, a lot of the stuff that we talk about, sometimes it'll be more about Thanksgiving when we get to meals and stuff like that. A lot of it's going to be about Christmas. So I'm going to defer to my Jewish friends who might have very good suggestions for Hanukkah. I mean, I know as far as present wrapping, like buying and wrapping presents and all that, a lot of that will pertain. But anyway, okay, so. It's good to think in categories and maybe to make yourself a notebook, or even you can just put it on a piece of paper, but save your papers, have a folder for them. The first category is maybe like your timeline, because there are so many things that and again, this year may not be so typical, but there are so many things that go on at Christmas time. Well, actually any time from Thanksgiving through to New Year's. Put them down on the calendar, but also make a list, but put them down on the calendar. There's and I wrote this down, religious events and celebrations. There are school concerts, there are office parties, there are community events, there's club and organization holiday get-togethers. Why every club needs a holiday get together, I don't know, but family celebrations. So, we all go to, on the weekend between Christmas and New Year's, we all trek out to Aunt so-and-so's for, a get together with the family. There's also arrivals and departures, like for yourself or for others, like, there's like who's coming, who's flying in, who's flying out, and all those trips to the airport and everything. So if you write all these things down, then you have like a little bit of a heads up on conflicts. Like you might assume you're going to do this, you're going to do that, and you're going to do the other thing. Well, if two things might be at the same time. So you have some decisions to make and you have some planning to do there. So try to put it on the calendar, but you might also want to put it on like a list for yourself, because the list will remind you, when is that thing this year? Like for next year, if you look at your list, it's like, well, when is that going to be? And you also might want to set up a timeline for yourself for like deadlines. Like this has to be done by this time or that time. The other thing, some of this, it's like, when do I want to have the house decorated by? When do I want to have my cards written and out? When do I want to do my gift shopping? Like you might want to set aside like, 2 days or something. That's just what you're going to do, which may not cover it all. You may have to run out for this or that, but you get maybe the bulk of it done. What's the drop dead date if I have to go to the post office with stuff? I've got 2 kids on the West Coast, so I might need a date to, if I'm going to get this stuff out. When is it going to be? Because actually I usually send them like stocking stuffers and cookies, and food shopping. When are you going to get? Sometimes it's a ton of food shopping. We have Thanksgiving. Or if you're having house guests, that's a ton of food shopping. And when is the shopping going to get done? Or if you're having something catered, when does you have to get that order in? You don't want to be too late and they'll say, oh, sorry, we're booked for that date. You need to get your catering order in. So all of those things, think about what you need to do. And to the extent that you can, and of course, it's not going to be hard and fast because, you can always excuse your way out of it, I suppose. But, try to keep to that so that you're not going crazy like the last week before a holiday. And, I didn't say before, and I should say, if anybody has some suggestions as we go along or wants to jump in or has a question, please do that. That's be great. Okay. And the thing is, ask again, like, is everything that you're doing necessary? Does everybody really care whether you do this? Because maybe they don't. And maybe that you can go a little bit easier on yourself. Okay. Budget. All right. This is tough because we all want everything to be just perfect for the holidays, whatever the holiday is, whether it's Christmas or Hanukkah or Thanksgiving or New Year's or whatever, it's got to be perfect because that reflects on me. It's got to be, and I'm right up there with you. So we tend to, well, it's Christmas or it's Hanukkah, or you spend more than you really should on the holiday. So kind of decide what is your top limit here for like everything. You might want to try to, or you could just go by category and put like, okay, some of the budget items that I wrote down: presents for the family, close friends, okay, things that you buy every year for somebody. And then there are those presents that we tend to forget about until, oh my goodness, it's like the last day of school, I need a teacher's gift. Or if you're in a building, you have a doorman, or your hairdresser, or whoever, like people that you would ordinarily tip. Very often you might give them a Christmas present. So think about that. And how much do you want to spend so that you don't go, hog wild at the last minute because you're feeling so desperate. Food is a big budget item. Like when you're doing a Thanksgiving dinner and you're having, like 20 people, that's a chunk of change. So, kind of think, how much are you willing to spend? What do you have to buy, and how much is a realistic budget for you? Decorations. Now that's something that most of us don't buy every year. But for those of us who get a live tree, that's a biggie, and sometimes we'll buy a few new things to freshen things up a bit. Travel expenses, if I were to fly out to the West Coast to see one of my kids, that takes a lot of planning, but the bottom line has to be like, can I afford to go? if I have to, if I need airfare and a hotel and, whatever. So, that's another budget item. Or even if you're going by car, a couple tanks of gas and, and maybe in a hotel overnight if it's a long trip. Charitable donations. I don't know about you, but I've already been getting a ton of mail looking for money for all different charities, some of which I care about and some of which I don't care about. But, you might want to set yourself some kind of a limit on how much and what charities are more important to you that you really want to, give your money to. Cards, they can add up. I send about 140 cards out every year. And I try to buy them, and I have that somewhere along the line later on, about trying to buy them like the year before when it's 2 for 1. If you can do that, that's a great idea. In the last couple of years, the Hallmark has been having 2 for 1 early in the season. So you don't, maybe you might not have to wait some years until after the holidays. Okay, postage. Because if you send a lot of cards, or if you send a lot of packages, across the country or whatever, you may have to budget, or you should budget for your for postage. Gift wrapping supplies, paper really can run very high, and ribbons and whatever, tags. So that's the kind of thing where you might want to buy look at the square footage. Like if you're comparing this roll to that roll, the rolls aren't necessarily the same. See how many square feet that covers, a roll covers. But whatever you do, try to set, a limit on that, like how much you're willing to spend on wrapping, and save your wrappings from year to year. I have a special box that they go in because, and I haul them out every year. Sure, I have to add something each year, but it does really help if you've saved them and they're in good condition, that they're taken care of. Okay, and you don't have a magic credit card. It's it's so easy to charge everything, but my advice is, if you're going to charge things, make sure you pay off that bill before you start putting things on it, so that you don't have all that interest to pay, or use cash, which is probably in a lot of ways a better way to go. I like to get my points or whatever, so I tend to use the credit card, but I try not to keep a balance on it so that it's not costing me more money than it's worth. Any questions about budgeting? Any suggestions about budgeting? No. Okay. All right. Traveling. Okay. Yes, Pat.
I was trying to unmute myself. I your list. This is a great list for the budget. Hostess gifts. All of a sudden you're going to somebody's house
Mhm.
and you feel like you should bring something. So if you can find things ahead of time
Yeah.
instead of running out at the last minute and getting something.
Yeah, well, actually, in my travel thing, that's one I think that's a hostess gift. But one of the things I said too is like this. Sometimes there's so many parties you're invited to, or so many things that sometimes you see something that's cute, like dish towels with something that and it's not that expensive maybe in it, but it's festive and it's something to bring. Buy 4 or 5, know how many parties you're going to, so that and then that's done. It's not like you're trying to get the perfect gift for this hostess or that hostess or whatever, or if there's a really nice wine that you like and it's within the budget or whatever, just buy 4 or 5 bottles of the wine. And so you have one that you can pop in a bag and bring to the party. But now traveling, some of the things, and I don't really have to tell you, because if anybody's ever gone on vacation, this stuff. It's like, how are you getting there? Flight reservations. If you're going to drive, make sure your car is in good shape. A lot of times if you're making a long trip, it's not a bad idea to go to your mechanic and just say, I'm going, to whatever state, and I want to make sure the car will make it. Hotel reservations. If you're not staying with your relatives and or friends, wherever you're going, make sure that you have, a hotel reservation, early on. So usually it's easy to cancel a reservation. It's not easy to get one. So very often with hotels, if you cancel by 4:00 that day, it's fine. Or, it may be, a little earlier in the day or the day before, but usually you can make a reservation and there's no penalty for canceling fairly late in the game. And then, the things that you would do for any trip, like make sure that you take care of stopping the mail, or, arranging for pets or your plants and whatever, for somebody to take care of those things. Because other people are busy at the holidays too. So if you're going to rely on somebody else to do something for you while you're away, and they always do when you go on vacation in August, they might not be able to do it for you in December. So, line that stuff up. And then, what are you going to bring? Clothing, toiletries, make a list so that you're just throwing things in a bag at the end. You don't have to stop and think, like, just before you go away, what you should be bringing. And that way, the clothes will be clean and they'll be, and ready to take, as opposed to, oh yeah, that would have been a great skirt to take, but it's in the wash or it's in the cleaners and I can't get it out now. And what presents do you have to bring for the people that are going to be entertaining you? And this could be like Christmas presents, this could be hostess gifts, it could be something else, but is it, do you have to bring this stuff, or could you, go on Amazon and have it sent before, so that you're not lugging this across the country? And then I said hostess gift. Okay. All right. Any questions about traveling? Is anybody traveling this year? Yeah, I didn't think so. It's kind of the thing. It's like, you have to worry about, airports and airlines and crowds and whatever. Okay. Plan your now we're going to talk about the big meal, which is, I think, of Thanksgiving, but for a lot of people, it might be, the Christmas Day dinner, which I also do, but that's like nothing compared to Thanksgiving. So plan your guest list. Do you have the same people every year, or almost the same people every year? And if you do, call them up anyway to see if they're coming, like to, and to issue the invitation, because that's polite. People can't, if they've come to your house for 20 years, they can kind of figure that you're going to have them, but it's still a little presumptuous. They should be invited. So, make sure you invite these people. And then it also, you can nail down how many are coming, because maybe your sister and her family are coming, except for these two kids. Well, that's going to affect, your table setting and how much you buy, and how, maybe whether you can invite somebody else if you wanted to. And so you'll be working with more of a definite number, and then make a menu. Now, if you come to my house for Thanksgiving, you've pretty much had the same thing for the last 30 years, every year. But you're not exactly, maybe, but pretty close. So the thing is, like, so make your menu, and then you keep your menu so that you have it again. In this way, this helps you with planning your grocery shopping. It helps you. One of the big things, and I'll get to that, is well, maybe I'll talk about it now. If you have your menu the day before the big holiday meal, I always go through it and say, okay, I need this pot for the potatoes. I need this bowl for the potatoes. And then I put a Post-it note in each: potatoes, potatoes. And this sounds crazy, except that if you've used your biggest pot for something, and then you go to start something else, it's like, oh, that really should have gone in that pot, because this one's not going to be big enough. I mean, I have to use 2 pots or what? No. So the thing is, if you plan ahead and you label stuff, like I label every pot and pan I'm going to use, leave it on the kitchen table, and every bowl. So like this, and then if people are helping you dish out stuff to bring into the dining room, they'll know this bowl, I can't put the Brussels sprouts in this. This is for the sweet potatoes. Do you know? So it helps people help you also, if they know what's for what. So anyway, so plan the menu, and then of course plan a grocery list. So you take your menu and you plan a grocery list, and you don't have to do grocery shopping in one shot. You might want to do it in a couple of different days. Like, it's good to start, let's say for Thanksgiving, at the beginning of the month. If you go to grocery shopping once a week, pick up several things every time you go. Okay. people are going to ask you, and you probably should be prepared for this before you invite people, what can they bring? All right. People used to ask me all that. Everybody always wanted to make desserts. And that's the one thing I do very well. I wanted to make my pies and my cookies and my brownies, whatever, so, so suggest like, or they could bring an hors d'oeuvre or a side dish, or they could bring a dessert, but get them to tell you what they're bringing, because otherwise you can't plan. So, they can you can give them time to think about it, but tell them you need to know what it is that they're going to be bringing, so that, you don't have, 3 string bean casseroles or something. And let's see. Okay, if you bake ahead. Now you can't bake your pies ahead; they don't usually freeze too well. But but cookies do, brownies do, a lot of cakes do. So if you're going to bake, and breads usually freeze pretty well. So or muffins, if you're going to make things like that for the dinner, start early-ish, and as long as you have freezer space, freeze the stuff. That way, you're much more prepared, and things like a couple of days ahead don't get too nuts. I remember there were years when I was still working in schools, and we usually had a half a day on the Wednesday before Thanksgiving, and I would come home, and there were times I made a pumpkin bread and a cranberry orange bread, and I didn't usually make my turkey cookies. I make cinnamon cookies that look like turkeys, and that's a lot of work. So I usually those are made ahead. But and I'd make 2 pies, and it was like crazy. Anyway, and give some thought to your table. Sometimes you just think, oh yeah, we're going to be in the dining room with so many people, I can fit that number of people. Do you have the table linen for the table? Do you have table pads? Do you have the table linen? Do you have, especially if you haven't done this before, if you're doing Thanksgiving for the first time, or a Christmas dinner, or maybe even a Hanukkah dinner, you need to have you need to know that you're ready. If you have silver, when was the last time you looked at it? Should it be polished? Okay, that's not something you want to do the day before when you're baking and cooking and cutting up sweet potatoes for a casserole. What you want to do is have that stuff out of the way, and decide on a centerpiece. Doesn't have to be flowers, but if you're going to have flowers, maybe you should order them ahead of time and find out when the florist is open, so that you're not left hanging on Thanksgiving Day. Or you buy candles, and or whatever floats your boat, as far as like I usually have a cornucopia for Thanksgiving, but just know in advance what you're going to do, so it's not like, oh my goodness, this table needs something. It's a big table, needs something in the middle. What else do I have there? Let's see. Oh, and as far as the table goes, you could set it the night before, and just put a sheet over it if you need to. I don't know that I've done that, but that certainly is a possibility, and that gets that out of the way. I've always found there's a lot of other stuff to do on Thanksgiving, and on Thanksgiving Day itself, I can sometimes get other people to do the table for me. Okay. All right, and then a meal preparation timeline, again with the menu. My big thing with the menu: put the menu on the microwave or whatever, right by the stove, and then sit down and write a timeline of like, okay, when does the turkey have to go in the oven? Which means, and then you have to back that up, is like, when should I need to start the stuffing? And when am I going to put the turkey in the oven? And then when do those potatoes have to go on, and when do they have to come off? And when are we going to be peeling potatoes? So first of all, if that goes on, my microwave is full of notices. You can't see what's in the microwave because I have all these notices on I have my menu, I have my timeline, but everybody else knows. So they know, if it's supposed to be put the Brussels sprouts in the oven, and they're not, and that time is 5 minutes past, somebody might say something to me about that. So it is good to post that. People help you out a little bit. Although I have been known to stand in my kitchen. I think this is last Thanksgiving. I stood in my kitchen and screamed, "Get out of here, everybody out, everybody." Because it's like too much. Anyway, let's see. Okay, so a timeline, because that gets your meal on the table and you have the things coming out at the right time. And that's really one of the hardest things about cooking a fancier meal, is like timing everything that, it's going to be ready at the right time to be dished up and brought out to the dining room or wherever. Any questions about the big meal? Okay, moving on.
I had a thought when you were talking about the grocery list.
Uh-huh.
One of the things that I make for all my holidays are pigs in a blanket. And
Uh-huh.
if you wait too long, you can't get the crescent rolls or the
Right.
hot. So
Yeah.
they're on my
Yeah.
first list of groceries for
Yeah.
holiday.
Yeah. Yeah. We learn from the things that you can't. Oh my goodness. And I've taken, and this I haven't done, because I wouldn't do this year because there's hardly anybody coming, but several years I made a cornucopia out of, well, it sounds complicated. It's not, well, that it's like the refrigerated pizza dough. And you braid the edge, and anyway, and then you bake that, and that becomes like a cornucopia with, I put cut up vegetables in it, and then a dip out for people to nosh on before dinner. But yeah, but that's another thing. I make sure I have that in advance, my pizza dough. Okay, house guests. Now, again, this year you may not be having too many house guests because who can travel? Who's feeling comfortable enough to travel? Or you may not be feeling comfortable enough to have people in your house if they're coming from out of state. But again, this is a list that maybe you can use in the future year. Where will they sleep? Okay, so which bedroom is going to be theirs? You have fresh linens for them, so for that you would put on before they come. Is it going to be a blow up bed? Does the blow up bed work? You don't need anything like that. Okay, they're going to go in the den, we'll put them on a blow up bed, and I'm borrowing it from my cousin's Melissa or something. Well, if it doesn't, you have to make sure it works, because you don't want to be embarrassed when your guests get there. If there's more than one bathroom, if it's possible to say this is your bathroom, that they could use just them and they don't have to share it with the rest of the household, that would be really great. That's not always possible. And so if they have to share, try to work out, a schedule for showering and all that, just so that to make, life a little easier. One of the things that we have an extra, we have 3 bathrooms, but there's only 2 that people would use upstairs. And one of the things I did was I bought another hairdryer, because people would borrow my hairdryer. And then I didn't have my hairdryer when I needed my hair. So I just said, you know what, this is not all that big an expense. And I put the extra hairdryer in the bathroom. So try to think of ways where, people's needs might collide, and see if you can, now I'm not saying spend a mint of money, to buy duplicates of everything you own, but, but think about, where there might be a conflict. Maybe where you had a conflict the last time these people were here. Okay. Also, and maybe even more, especially if you're not sharing a bathroom with your guests, make sure that there's plenty of toilet paper in the bathroom, that there's extra cups for the cup dispenser, that there's, anything that you can think of that that's there, that they maybe another bar of soap, but something they might run out of. You might also want to have like shampoo, and it doesn't have to be fancy, but shampoo and body wash, in the shower. If they bring their own, that's fine, but you're covered. Okay.
I would say extra toothbrushes.
Yeah, I usually I have a cup that says in case you forgot. Like I have a glass in my medicine chest, it says in case you forgot. And I have a razor, and I have a disposable razor or 2, and a couple of toothbrushes. You never know. I have dental floss and whatever. Let's see. Okay. Now, the thing is, we've talked about shopping, food shopping for a holiday meal. If you have house guests, that's going to be a lot of extra food. Okay. They may not have every meal at home, but at your house, but make sure that you have breakfast foods in. You might even want to ask them ahead of time, what do you like for breakfast? Or what do you know, whatever. If they're oatmeal people and you don't need oatmeal, you might want to get oatmeal in. If they make eggs every day, you might want to get an extra dozen eggs in. And then, and have something for lunches. And if they have friends in the neighborhood, or if they have other relatives in the neighborhood, they may not be eating with you every day, especially like for dinners. You might want to ask them just to let you know ahead of time when they're going to be eating out. So you don't plan a dinner for like 6 when there's only going to be 2 of you, or something along that line. Okay. Your guests might be family. They grew up in the area where you live. They may be your own kids who lived in that house already. But one of the things that I suggest is to, if people are going to be are new to the area, give them a list of things in the area to do. Like these are attractions around, or I usually in Crestwood, I usually point out the different the churches and the seminary and the library. So just so that if they take a walking tour, they can go around and check out our neighborhood, our points of interest. But you might also want to put tourist attractions in, or whatever, and then include. We don't have really any buses around here, but I would include a Metro North train schedule if they want to go down to the city.
Could I just add something? Hi.
Sure. Yeah.
The password. The first thing they want is the password for the Wi-Fi.
That's true.
I put all of that in the guest room because they always want that as soon as they get there.
Yeah. Well, one thing I made a thin binder, and I put in I put in like that information I said about a walking tour in the neighborhood. I put in the Wi-Fi password and where the extenders are and all that stuff. I put in the information about local restaurants. Hint, hint, go have one meal out. Leave me alone. Or take me out. That's fine too. So yeah, it is good to have that kind. Also, how the air conditioning and the heating works. Like how, like anything that's kind of quirky or whatever. It's very good to have it in a booklet where they can just refer to it and they're not bugging you all the time. Because to tell you the truth, I have to look up my Wi-Fi password. I don't know it by heart. Okay, so. All right. And then, all right, that's if we're getting together with our loved ones, and this year we may not be. So I would say try to, if you're going to be not seeing people that you usually see, you might be able to arrange like a Zoom meeting or FaceTime or something, and try to, even if it's just FaceTime with one family member or whatever, try to arrange it ahead of time so you know that you're both free and it's both marked off for you to do that. Because what are the holidays about if they're not about, family and friends, right? So, make those connections if you can. If you can't do it in person, try to do it digitally. Okay, gift shopping. All right. Lists, again, you need lists because you don't want to realize on Christmas Eve you forgot somebody. So make a list, and, probably you want to spend about the same amount of money for people in the same category, like nieces and nephews, or, siblings, or, your own kids, whatever, and try to, work out, because this is another thing for the budget, how much you're going to spend on gifts. But, here we're down to the nitty gritty. How much are you spending on each person? Or, including those teacher gifts, those doorman gifts, those hairdresser gifts. Because they add up, believe me. All right. If you're even thinking vaguely about clothing gifts, make sure you get the sizes. However, you might have to do it by asking another family member, or by checking somebody's closet or whatever. But make sure that what sizes that you're buying, so that these people aren't spending the week after Christmas, in all the stores you shopped in 2 weeks before Christmas. If you don't have any ideas, brainstorm with the significant others. I have this, I send out a letter and pretty much it's going to be sent out like this week to my kids saying, I have 4 sons, and I asked them, let me know what you want. Like, don't make it a mystery, and let me know what your significant other would like. I don't care if it's gift cards, or if it's, if it's a specific item or whatever. Let me know so that I have something to go on here. Don't leave me in the lurch trying to figure out, she might like this because I like it, and she maybe will not like it. After all, I'm an old lady. But try to hunt up the ideas before you go out browsing around department stores. Okay. You might want to decide when to shop. If you could just look at your calendar and make a couple of mornings or whatever. I'm not saying try to block off, millions of hours, but see what you can get done, in like 3 hours or something, and try to be out there and, group your stores so that you kind of shop, you can make it maybe one trip, you can see 2 or 3 places. I always find Christmas shopping so difficult, but thank God for Amazon. If you do have an idea, sometimes you can just, get it delivered right to the house, or to their house, which is even better. Okay. One of the things that I've been doing more is get experiences for gifts. Okay. So tickets to something. We've given our kids tickets. We gave my son Bill and his wife Yuki tickets to Hamilton for last March, and there was no Hamilton. And then they changed the tickets for November, and there's still no Hamilton. So it's, but usually tickets are a good thing, as long as they haven't seen whatever it is you're trying to show them. Or take somebody someplace, like I like this museum, or I like a day, bring, say lunch and the Met or something along, like the Metropolitan Museum of Art or something along that line. Or do something with the kids, take your nieces or nephews to a kids movie, or, whatever, but try to think in those terms too, because those can be some of the most memorable gifts that people get. Remember that time we did this and that, rather than the blue shirt. Well, what blue shirt? They don't remember so much, but the experiences do stay with them. They might not be as excited on the holiday, like the Hanukkah or Christmas, to get that thing, but it pays, it's something to look forward to, and then they have the memory. Okay. Let's see. All right. One of the things, if the budget is strained, and sometimes even if it's not so terrifically strained, it's not a bad idea to sit down with some family members and say, okay, how about if we just pull a name out of the hat? Okay. So if you've got a bunch of siblings and their spouses or whatever, and you all buy for each other, you might want to say, okay, why don't we just buy for one person? Have a secret Santa kind of a thing. Everybody just pulls a name out of a hat, and as long as you don't get yourself or your spouse, you're good. All right, that's one thing to do. The other thing would be to put a dollar limit on something. Okay, so that you say, okay, no more than $50 or $25 or whatever the relationship is with these people, that you're comfortable with a certain amount, that so that somebody doesn't come with a $10 gift and somebody else has spent $75 and somebody feels like a piker. Or you might want to say, why are we still doing this? Like, I have 2 friends I went to college with, and I graduated from college in 1972. So that's more than 40 years ago, almost 50 years ago. And, we still buy a Christmas gift for each other. And I'm not so sure how I feel about that. I always like the things I get, and I don't mind buying these for these 2, but that's something like, that's something that is do we still need to do that? No, we can each go buy whatever we want. So it's not, it's not, absolutely a necessary kind of a thing. So that's, so you might want to just drop it all together, or just say, let's all go out to lunch together, or something along that line, rather than buying each other presents. Okay. So, think about making your shopping a little easier on yourself. If, for instance, can you buy something online and have it sent to them rather than buying it locally, boxing it up? I mean, sometimes something is special and it's only local and it's something that they might miss from when they lived in the area or whatever. But you might, it might be a better idea to like buy something online and send it to them directly. So that you've saved the time out in the store. You haven't had to find a box it up, wrap it, and then rewrap it in another box for shipping, and then trek over to the post office to send it out. So that's something that you might want to consider. But the one thing I will say is, do not wait to the last minute, because even if you're using an online vendor who will get it there in a day, they can't get it there in a day if they're out of it. So don't wait too long if you're going to send something, from an online or catalog, an online vendor or catalog. Okay, and then I did talk about hostess gifts and buying multiples. Your hostesses will probably never compare notes, so you're good. Decorating the house. All right. How much you put up is a matter of personal preference. Some people decorate everything. They've got, I see these things like, online or in a magazine where it's like you're decorating the mirrors. Really? I don't have that much energy to decorate mirrors and to, hang swags from my sconces. It's not happening here. I do have a lot of tchotchke things I put up. I have a shelf in the kitchen, which is, how whatever the season is, it's holiday decorations for the season. But one of the things I will say is, think about when you're putting stuff up, because you don't want the place to look cluttered, and you already have things in your living space. You have stuff up. So first of all, really ask yourself if you really want to keep it. Might be a great opportunity to declutter in general. So see if you really want to keep everything that you've got up there, that you don't see anymore because you've just grown so accustomed to it. Would the place look better without 3 of these things on the mantle or whatever? But even if you love them and you want them and you're going to keep everything, you might want to think about putting stuff, taking it away for the month or whatever that you have the holiday decorations up. And what I do with a lot of stuff is it goes back in the box that the Christmas stuff was in, and I put it in the attic. And then when I go to put the Christmas stuff away, I put that stuff back up. I remember my husband saying to me one time, what happened to he's got beer steins. We have a little collection of beer steins in the living room. What happened to my X, Y, and Z beer stein? And of course, I didn't know which one he was talking about. But I said, well, when I put up your Christmas beer stein, I always take one out and put it in the box and put it back up in the attic. So, so that's one thing to do, just so that, and you appreciate this stuff more if it's kind of like a little showcased and, you've gotten some of the other stuff out of the way. Some of it might be stuff that you should pitch, but, and you've been thinking about it. This might be the opportunity, to donate it to somebody. To some cause. The other thing is that if you finished your decorating and there's stuff left in the box that you're not putting up, what's that about? Is it shop worn? Is it broken? Is it something that you really have always hated? It was your mother's, but you hated it. It's like chintzy looking and like it's not your mother. I say this all the time. You can toss it out. But like, if you have stuff that doesn't go out any year, you just put up stuff and then, I mean, some years it's like, you don't have time, you're in a hurry, just put up a few things, that's it, fine. But other years, sometimes you have stuff like, that moth-eaten Santa doesn't go up because it doesn't look good enough, but it's not going to look any better next year. So why is it still in there? And if it's not really good enough to donate, toss it, get rid of it. Okay. And it makes your life easier because there's fewer things to deal with. Right. And let me see if anything is on here about decorations. No, pretty much that's it. Anybody else have comments on decorations? Oh, I'm doing one more thing. If you're putting up a tree, make it a little bit of a party and invite people. I usually, because this year I don't know what we're going to do, because I don't know if our sons will be able to come. But when we put up the tree, they can have as much beer as they can drink. But come, I invite my sons to come help decorate the tree, and that usually, and then I feed them. They get big ziti. So anyway, that's one thing, because I find the tree very labor intensive, Lois, is there anything about Hanukkah decorations we should know? I guess it's not as much.
It's pretty much the same thing. I have my Hanukkah decorations that I keep in a box, and I reuse them from year to year. We have a menorah that plugs in, and so I have my Hanukkah box the same as you have your Christmas box.
Okay.
Yeah. I do want to say one thing though about food. We have a Hanukkah party where we'll make latkes, and you have to make them right there when everybody's there. You fry them.
Right.
So what we do is we take the potatoes and my husband peels the potatoes the night before. You cut them up a little bit, like in halves or quarters, put them in cold water. And this is for anyone who wants to make potato pancakes any time of the year. You keep them in the refrigerator overnight, and you change the water, and it makes so much better latkes because you get the starch out of the potatoes, and then you're ready with all your frying pans. Your electric frying pans are the best to make the latkes while everybody's there.
Yeah. Now, do you have to? I would think you might have to drain them on paper towels or something, right? Because of the water and the fat.
So you change the water, and then you take them and you drain them, and then we could do the recipe another time, but you have to. but then you put it through the grater, and then you drain them again. Yeah. And the best way to get the really crisp latkes is you got to get rid of all that starch and the water. And then you add
Good to know. Good to know. Okay. Because I do love those. I do love potato pancakes. I have a friend who invites me for latkes. I don't know about this year. Probably can't go this year.
Sorry.
What'd you say?
If you're doing mashed potatoes, can you do the same thing? Could you put them in the water overnight the night before?
I don't know. I never thought about that.
I suppose you could, as long as they wouldn't discolor. That's the point of it.
Well, that's the whole thing. They don't discolor when they're in the water.
Yeah, if you're covered with water, they should be all right. Yeah. I guess you could.
But in mashed potatoes, don't you want the starch in mashed potatoes or not?
I don't know.
I don't know. I never gave it much thought. Okay. We'll have to, Pat, you experiment and get back to us. Okay. Let's see here. All right, where am I? Oh, I'm up to cards. All right. Sometimes it's like the bane of my existence. They're so nice to get cards, and it's not so much fun to send them, but anyway, I had said my first thing is like, it's too late for this year, but buying them 2 for $1 ahead of time is like the year before, as long as you have a place to store them is good. All right, get postage stamps before the post office gets too crazy. At least now there are places like grocery stores, a lot of grocery stores and pharmacies and card stores actually sell stamps. So that's handy to know, because
stamp
sometimes
by
the post
mail
office people.
works.
What'd you say?
Stamp- You can also order them by mail online,
That-
and that
right.
works very well.
Good. Okay, I've never done that. I knew that it was possible. And actually, I had seen something when I was trying to research this. Somebody said it's great, except that sometimes the turnaround time is a little slow, so don't wait too long to do it. You know,
I suppose, like,
but that's, what'd you say?
I said, like everything else, don't wait too long to do it.
Especially this year.
But the thing is, even if you're waiting for your stamps to come, you could still be writing your cards. Okay, you don't have to wait for the stamps to write the cards. You can write the cards and address them and stamp them when you get the stamps. All right, if you are a person who does a photo card, be thinking about that, especially like, well, again, things are different, but if you're dressed up for Thanksgiving, have somebody take a picture and use that picture for your photo card. Again, ordering them in advance. If you write a holiday letter, you don't even have to wait to the holidays, because these people who write holiday letters always, tell you what happened since the last holiday letter. So, if you're a person who writes a holiday letter, you can start pretty early or start writing notes about what you want to include in it anyway. Keep it on the computer and go back to it every once in a while. Okay, I would suggest picking a date to get your cards out. Okay, just to give yourself a deadline so that you keep yourself on track. I know with me, having 140 cards is a lot. But what I do is I make labels. So I run the labels. And then my husband, for the last, I don't know, maybe 4 or 5 years, has actually been writing cards to the cards that go to his friends from college and his friends from the Army and his friends, so we sit down with the labels, and he pulls off the labels, for his, and writes his cards, slaps the label on, and I take another sheet of labels, take mine off, and then we swap, and we get it done that way. And that's, first of all, it's very companionable, and second of all, it gets those cards out, anyway, let's see. Okay, when the cards come in, check the return addresses against what you have for them, because sometimes you've got a zip wrong, or you've got, or they've moved, or there's something, so that, update your own mailing list from your, the return, the envelopes that you get back with your, not get back, the envelopes you get from your friends with your friends' cards. I like to keep a record of who sent me a card, not because I'm tit for tat. There's a lot of people I don't get cards from every year, but I do like to send them a card, and I'll send them a card. Other people, as long as they keep sending me a card, I'll keep sending them a card. But like, if they haven't sent me a card for 2 or 3 years and I really care whether they get a card, they're off my list, because what am I doing this for? The friend that was from college, who's really more of a friend than the friend of yours, that kind of person. Okay, and then, like, a lot of people feel they have to display their cards, so they have ribbons with the cards on them, or they have them all on the mantle, or whatever, and that's nice if you have the space and you want to do that. If you're tight for space, or you just can't imagine where you're going to put these cards, then I think my mother used to have like a board, and she would staple them up on the board. But one of the things that you could do is just have like a festive, like a basket, and have the cards in the basket. If somebody wants to look through your cards, they can, and nobody ever will, but that they're there, and sometimes it is nice for you to look through them. But it is hard to find enough space to display the cards that you get. And I think, all right, anybody have any other comments on cards? Oh, okay. Music. Okay. It's hardly the most important thing to plan at Christmas, but it's a lot of fun. It does sometimes make it easier, like if you're writing cards, or if you're cleaning because company's coming, or because you feel things should really look spiffy for Christmas or Thanksgiving or whatever, Hanukkah. Sometimes it helps to have to have music on in the background, appropriate, music that will put you in the mood. So, that's nice. And if you have company, it is kind of nice to have it playing softly in the background, not drowning out the conversation, of course, but, to have a little bit of Christmas music. It does make it feel, or, I don't know if there's a lot of Hanukkah music, but
Yeah.
to have something that's more.
There's a lot of great Hanukkah music, and we had some CDs, but also the thing is now for Christmas, for anything, you go onto whatever, Google Music or whatever.
Yeah.
And it's magic.
Yeah.
Say,
Well, that's one of the things I was going to, that's one thing I was going to suggest. Like we have a lot of CDs, and my husband will just, put them in the changer. It holds like 50 CDs and play it in the living room. But I've also used, I have made a playlist on my phone, which is also, if you have a lot of music on your phone, you can make a playlist and play it through a Bluetooth speaker. I've done that. But there's also the Spotify, there's Pandora, there's, like you said, Apple Music, Google Music. There's all kinds of streaming services. If you have a streaming service, you could just, ask them to play whatever appropriate seasonal music that you have. So, okay. And here's I've said this before, I'm going to say it again. If you've made all these lists and you've kept them in a folder, and I would suggest a folder for Thanksgiving, a folder for Hanukkah, a folder for Christmas, whatever, one for each holiday. Then when the holiday is over, your lists are there. Just write notes on them. Like this worked, this didn't work, or don't do this again, or this came out crummy, try a different recipe, whatever it is. Okay. And one of the things that I've done is I have a binder, and it has the different holidays in it. And I have the menus I use, which really don't change too much from Thanksgiving to Thanksgiving or from Christmas to Christmas, whatever. But and it also has notes. Sometimes I've written notes, ongoing notes when I've really been good, like a diary. And one time I had one of my daughters-in-law was here, and she was hysterical reading reading my notes from different holidays. But it's helpful sometimes to look them over and then say, oh yeah, we did that and that really worked out very well. We could do that again this year. Or, oh yeah, that's why we don't do that anymore. So it kind of keeps you, up to snuff here. So that's the kind of thing that can be, very helpful. It saves you from reinventing the wheel, because really when you look at all the planning and thinking and everything that you did, yes, you're going to probably change some things next year, but how nice it is not to have to start from scratch each year and think about everything like anew. And what did we do last year? And why didn't we do that? And whatever. This way you have it, what happened and why it happened and how things can, go so much easier, and there'll always be changes. Every year there'll be changes. So I'd like to hear everybody else's experiences and tips, please. We can all use everybody's tips. Crickets I get in here.
Well, I do my lists and I put it right in my Hanukkah box.
Okay.
Go, because then it's there. We have song sheets that we do. We used to do Hanukkah parties for the neighborhood kids before we had kids, and so that also entailed getting dreidels and getting money, and there's like specific things. And I don't know if anybody celebrates Hanukkah or even for Christmas, but the place down on oh gosh, what's it called? Right down by ShopRite there. That has a lot of great cheap Hanukkah stuff and Christmas stuff. What's it called?
Odd Job?
No.
Odd Job Savings?
Amazing Savings.
Now it's Amazing Savings. It used to be Odd Job, yeah.
Amazing Savings. Yeah, you get all sorts of those little things. And then we also do, when we do the dreidel, we have things with money, and I have everything there. So I have my thing with all the pennies in, because we play for money with that too. So, like, everything is in the box. Take it out. It's all there. Candles, everything.
Yeah. I have, I get my Hanukkah gelt, my chocolate Hanukkah gelt, so that for St. Patrick's Day, because I have a little, like for a pot of gold, I have a little Balik pot that looks like, a leprechaun's pot of gold, and I have a leprechaun, nutcracker. So we have, I get Hanukkah gelt for the,
Yeah,
for my leprechaun's pot of gold.
that chocolate stays forever. When you see it's in the stores,
I know.
like, at Thanksgiving time, and then
So anyway, but yeah, okay, that's good. And it's, so because putting it in the box is a good tip in a way, because you might forget that you made this list the year before. If you don't, if you don't
Yeah.
have it, if it hasn't been a habit for you, you're not going to necessarily be looking for it. But if you put it in the box with the decorations, whatever, then it's like, oh yeah, so anybody else? Pat? Mary?
Well, I was just thinking you were talking about, decorations and, maybe having too much or not putting everything out. In light of the fact that a lot of people might not be traveling this year, and not to be depressing, but, maybe this is the year that we open up our treasured collections and share them with other family members.
Yeah.
Maybe if you have an ornament that that you don't always use it on your tree, or you can bear to share it with a loved family member. Maybe this is the year you send it across the country for, a granddaughter or a niece or somebody to put on their tree this year, if you're not going to get to be together, with the caveat that next year when things are better, you're going to come out and visit it on their tree.
Yeah.
Oh, it's nice.
That's
Yeah.
like a terrible thing to open up the cabinet and see that you forgot to use those mugs this year, or the special things, and you're like, I didn't use them again this year. And so maybe this is the year to share things.
Yeah.
Such a great idea. I love it.
Yeah.
That is a great idea.
Yeah, it is
I
very
was
nice
going to
idea.
say that instead of
Yes.
just hanging out your decorations, it's such a freeing thing to give your kids the decorations that you've been putting on the tree, all the decorations they made in school over the years, and all of those things. And last year I bought actually ornament boxes, and I gave each of them an ornament box to bring home. And they didn't.
Oh, that's nice.
They don't have room in their apartments, but I didn't care.
You know what I did? I'll tell you, when my oldest son got married, I wrapped a box of my son's. Now my son, some of the ones are from Hungary. Let me tell you, like one of the things we had was a paper chain that he made, that Brian made when he was in Asbury. Okay. And that he hung on the tree every year. Like he always gave it a prominent place, right? So anyway, some of them were very nice ornaments that he had from my mother-in-law and all. And but anyway, so for the shower, I wrapped this box, and I made sure that was the last box my daughter-in-law opened at her bridal shower. And it was kind of a joke. So then when my another son got married, I did the same thing. And when it came to the last box, my daughter-in-law Yuki said, "Oh, I hope this is what I think it is." Like she was really anxious to get these,
That's good.
but it got them out of my house.
But
Very
I
good.
did keep a few
Yeah,
for each kid, so that it was on my tree and they still had some memories on the tree.
yeah. So anyway, but it is a good way to to move some of them. And when you get, because sometimes there's just there's too much stuff to put up. Not that you don't like this one or that one or that one, but it's just too much.
Right.
Anyway, anybody else with any ideas about anything? Decorations, food, travel, budget. Anybody do like a swap, like a kind of a Christmas swap, or some kind of a gift exchange where you're limited to how much you spend and stuff? Or is
Oh yeah, we do that. We do that at the firehouse.
Uh-huh.
We're limited to $10.
Okay.
So, and it's usually like a general gift. For example, a hot chocolate gift set, coffee gift set, holiday mitts,
Uh-huh.
stuff that's generally useful and fun.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, and that's really nice. It's fun to do a swap.
Okay, good. There were two messages here in the actually, it's supposed to be three, I think, but I only see two. Three, okay. Yeah, okay, Liz wrote Secret Santa, yeah. But Liz also said that Cuomo announced that starting tomorrow, private home gatherings are limited to 10 people. So very few of my Thanksgivings would have come under that rubric. But this year we'll be 6. And then Mary Ann said, all my holiday lights are stored in clear plastic Ziploc bags. And she keeps a journal of recipes for each holiday and what worked. So that's really, that's good. That's kind of what we were talking about. So
It's helpful because my brother, it's myself and my brother, but I swear, like stress wise, I may as well be cooking for 100 people. So if he actually likes something, I write it down. And if he doesn't like something, I write, eliminate
yeah, right.
for next year.
Yeah, good. Okay.
Well, I must say, Pat, you speak to me. When
I'm sorry, what did you say, Susan?
I said, you speak to me when you say, when you're putting your things on the tree and then there are things that you decide this year you don't want to use anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You don't throw them away. That's me. I leave them.
Yeah.
And
so they languish in the box year after year.
My trees get a little bit smaller.
I mean,
so I can't use as many, but I can't seem to part with things. But you're giving me some courage to do that this year. I might not even have a tree.
I mean, sometimes, yeah,
I have to decide.
Yeah. I mean, sometimes I've had years where it's just like I just peter out, like I just get tired. I mean, like I'm, so it's not like I don't love the stuff or whatever. It's just like I can't put another thing on the tree, and or we have a smaller tree and there's just not a room for everything. But other years it's like, why is this, this skier with one ski left in this box?
Like my nutcrackers with one shoe, yeah. Well, the way I've made it fun is I rotate my decorations. Like my Halloween haunted house is still up because I live alone and why not? And then in another week or so, I'll do the fall leaves and fun stuff like that. But then before Christmas, I do Nutcracker. So I have like a whole Nutcracker set up because I've performed in that ballet for so many years that, and usually Thanksgiving weekend would be when we'd start really gearing up.
Yeah.
And then around like the week before Christmas, then the tree goes up and, the wreath and all that indoors. And I find that I really appreciate it because, and then after Christmas, after the Epiphany, I go into winter wonderland. So I have these, my mother got us, these winter houses from Avon. They're absolutely fabulous. And that's what goes up afterwards. And that carries me straight into February. Yeah. But if I don't rotate, if I don't make myself rotate, I find I get a little lazy.
Yeah.
Except I gave my sister my igloos with the penguins. And I don't know if I'm going to see her this year. So she's got to send me a picture of that.
Mary Ann, where do you store all that stuff?
All right, so that's actually a good question. I do live alone. I inherited a 3-bedroom home. So my mother's room, which would be the master bedroom, I turned into the holiday room. And that's where it all goes. The Christmas Village is in her closet. The Avon houses are like along the perimeter of her room, and the Nutcrackers are also along the perimeter of the room.
Your prop closet.
Everybody's over and they're strolling through and they're like, "Oh, I like that." I'm like, "Oh, by all means, take it. I would love it so much if you would enjoy it in your own house." So, yeah. So my mother's room, fortunately, is a big closet space, so it's all there. Because my days of going up and down those attic stairs with the boxes is done. And yes, Wally, the fun thing about that is it's a cheerful room to walk in all year long. And then my bedroom, which is also my office, as I have a theater company, has my instruments and my boogie boards and skateboards, so that's where all that stuff stores. So yeah, it's just the attic got to be a bit much going up and down the stairs. So But yeah, I don't, if I, once I really start considering downsizing and going into, maybe a 2-bedroom ranch style house, I'm sure storage will be a little more of a challenge. But yeah, so yeah, it's fun.
So I feel like this year, since the pandemic hit, everything is about everybody's houses because it's like we have to do something. Let's renovate. I mean, everywhere I look, there's somebody putting a patio on or a
Yep.
roof on. It's just
That's
amazing.
exactly what I did. I just renovated the downstairs bathroom and the kitchen in full. And next in the spring will be the upstairs bathroom, because you're home and all of a sudden you're like, why is the wood under the cabinet warped? Why didn't I notice the pipes are faulty?
But
So yeah, I think because we're all home and we can see the
Yeah.
issues now,
Plenty of time to look at this stuff.
I feel like for the holidays, people are going to get like crazy because they're in their house and they can start earlier and they have time to do it. And like I found Halloween amazing in Crestwood, how much stuff people had. So I feel like it's only going to get bigger. So we have competition out there, girls.
Especially your block, Jackie. Your block gets really crazy for the holidays.
Well, since we're encouraged to actually spend time outside because outside is safer, because it's harder for the virus to get us outside in all the fresh air. Maybe this is the year for people who haven't really, jumped into outdoor decorating. Maybe this is the year they dip their foot in and, people could start, taking walks in the evening and walking around to see the lights. Like, I think that would be something nice to do.
Yeah.
I always wanted to do that with my Boy Scout troop. I always wanted them to like plot out like a GPS, a course of like the best lights, and then we'd go back to the hall for hot chocolate, but they never did it. But I thought that'd be a great idea. But I think this year I want to spend some more time walking around looking at lights, because on my side of town, people have already started.
Oh, it's cool.
Yeah, lights have never been my forte, but we might try to up our game this year too.
Great
I
idea.
noticed Home Depot has fabulous outdoor trees decorated appropriately for either Hanukkah or Christmas. And they're really pretty. They're mini trees, but they're very full. I don't know if they're Christmas trees or bushes, but they come all decorated. So that's a nice option for outdoors.
Some of the outdoor lights even have the different settings that you can change, like the colors of the lights.
All seen this yet. This was my find of the year, I'm telling you. Hang on. I just have to set it up. Give me a minute. Hang on.
While Marianne's looking for something. Let's see.
So what you're looking at I don't know
Is
if you can
Studio
see this.
54. No, I'm just kidding.
It's
Sorry.
Studio 54. This is just a light bulb.
Sorry.
It doesn't. So that doesn't have to be programmed with an app.
That's a light
That's
bulb?
just the light bulb
That's
itself.
crazy.
And the switch is right there.
That's hilarious.
It really is.
Marianne, that's your go-to gift for everybody. Dr. Count says you need a gift to give everybody. That's your gift.
I actually have friends that asked. They wanted it, and I had bought a ton of them, and I have been giving them
Are
out.
they,
Yeah.
are they
That's funny.
just light bulbs, or is it a whole thing?
That's just so there's two versions. You can buy the one that hooks into Alexa that you can program with your voice and sync it up to your phone. Or there's the one I just showed you, which is the bootleg version, very uncomplicated, screws into your fixture, and you can use the switch if you want the strobe light effect, or as Mary said, Studio 54, or if you want the slower effect. So I have, I work in theater, so I'm always keeping myself entertained around here. So I have normal lights and then, normal chandeliers and lamps when company comes, so I don't look, like a nut. And then, of course, when everybody's gone, then I start throwing on the light bulbs that change colors, and
That's cool.
I keep projection lights inside the house because, why not?
That's cool.
But that's when you work in theater, Actually, the Westchester Broadway Theater is doing an auction on Wednesday, because I'm sure you all know by now it's closing.
Yeah.
I saw that.
We were asked, we were asking like, if the spotlights are available, like I definitely want one. I just think that'd be a cool thing to have in the house.
So
A little
sad
extra,
about
but
that
it's
theater going.
we think they're going to rebrand and reopen at another point.
I hope so.
They did that the first time when it was an evening dinner theater. They rebranded and opened, but right now to pay that kind of rent for a space that's not active just was not cost effective for them. I mean, the owners are wealthy. The Westchester Broadway Theater was always their tax write-off, especially Bob Funking. He specializes in art. He's an art collector, and his collection's like worth millions. So yeah, but we're hoping that they'll rebrand in another year or so. We'll see what that future brings. But for now, if any of you are theater goers, take a look at the White Plains Performing Arts Center for your holiday needs. If you need to get out, I don't know what their shows they're running, but that's a nice thing to do for the holidays.
Yeah. Okay, so we only have, we've got 13 minutes left if anybody has anything else to say. Next, just so that I let you know, next time it's going to be December 3rd, which is a Thursday night, 7:30 to 9, just as we usually meet. And this time it's going to be, I just want to do a little recap when we first start next time about how things went with the holidays, how things are going, and if anybody has any questions or anything about this planning stuff that we did tonight. But mainly it's going to be about entryways like taking care of entryways for when your guests come in, but also having a place, what a lot of organizers will call like a launch pad to like get yourself out of the house with the stuff that you need wherever you're going. So that's something that we'll discuss. So think about that. If you have anything to offer, make sure you bring it along and share it with everybody else for that topic too. So if we're done for tonight, I think we can probably call it a night unless
Pat,
yeah.
I found an article. Psychologists confirm people who decorate earlier are happier. So now you have a
Well, it saves a lot of stress.
Yeah.
Good to know.
Eat Thanksgiving on paper plates, throw it all away, and then go right into the Christmas decorating.
I could never do Thanksgiving on paper plates. I'm sorry.
I agree with that. No paper plates for Thanksgiving.
Just this year.
My Wedgwood and my Waterford and my silver, that's what we have for Thanksgiving. Yeah.
They're talking about that we should do Thanksgiving outside this year. I don't know.
What's
Sounds a little nutty.
Like last Sunday, we went out to dinner. We went to Mama Sunta's, and it was just lovely. It was warm. It was very nice, but I can't imagine it's not going to stay this warm.
Yeah.
So I don't know. But
I know we had a 70-degree day the other day and it was beautiful. And then we got all these days of rain. I mean, if we knew we'd have a beautiful day, it could be so festive, but here in New
chances
York,
of getting a beautiful day on Thanksgiving aren't, like a warm, beautiful. You might have a beautiful day, but it may not be so warm.
Yeah.
So warm, beautiful day is,
Has anybody been at a restaurant with the heater?
Yeah. Well, it's where Mama Sunta's had them, and I was also at Chat in Scoresdale. They had them. It makes
What was sort of a mild night when you were at Mama Sunta's, or was
well,
it?
also, and even when I was at Chat, we were at Chat. It was kind of warm, yeah. So I don't know how it's going to be going forward. If those heaters are going to ever be enough. But
That's what I was wondering.
yeah. I can't imagine myself out in January outside.
Oh, no.
So.
Well, my concern is that restaurants are going to try to build, structures around to basically enclose, and then it's just going to be like an extension of the inside space.
Yeah, well, that's something. I was at one place
There.
It sounds like I've been going out a lot, and I could tell you exactly, like maybe on one hand, how many times I've gone out. But we did go out to dinner in Pelham, and that was supposed to be like outdoors, but they also had like kind of like plastic sheeting around some of it, and and I thought to myself, I don't know if I feel it. I mean, there was air coming through, you could feel it, but I thought to myself, I don't know if I feel so comfortable. This is not really like outdoors, So. But we'll see what happens.
Well, thank you so much,
Well,
Pat.
thank
That was
you.
really, really fun.
Well, thank you for
Interesting.
joining me, and I hope to see you all on December 3rd. For
Yeah.
Quick question, Marianne, is the auction online?
No, the auction is in person.
Oh,
I
okay.
believe you can start online. If you are on Facebook, I believe the Facebook page is Tribute Westchester Broadway Theater, and you can see what each lot has.
Mhm.
They're auctioning off the
And
dishes, the coffee urns and
They are auctioning everything.
pots and pans.
Glassware from the kitchen, servingware, lighting, sound, props, souvenirs. I want to know, I really would like to know where their gift shop stuff is going, because those items were gorgeous, fabulous costume jewelry, which I really love, scarves, pocketbooks, that kind of stuff. So that's what I would like to know is, where are they, once the auction's over, anything that's not of interest to the people who are at the auction, where will it go from there? I'm thinking the elephant trunk in Mount Kisco, but
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
Listen,
We'll see where it goes. I actually worked there for over 22 years, so.
A lot of it's sentimental to you.
I swiped everything that would have been sentimental, I'm not gonna lie.
I just want to, before we go, I just want to make a plug for the library raffle. There are some beautiful baskets for the raffle, for our fall raffle, and usually a very good value. And so check them out, take chances, and support the friends.
How do you do that? They're closed? Or is
How
it-
much are the chances, Pat?
What'd you say?
How much are the chances?
They usually, I think they're $1 a piece, 6 for 5, but I'm not positive.
Yeah, we
I haven't
stuck
taken-
to that.
I haven't taken my chances yet. I just
We
donated
did
my
stick
basket.
to that. The $1 for one raffle,
Mhm.
6 for $5.
And it's presented as what we used to call a Chinese auction, which is probably not PC anymore. But where there's, you put your chance in the things that you want to win, and you can skip the things that don't appeal to you that much. So I
No,
think
but I thought the library closed for COVID this week because
That was the Will Library. That's the big library on Central Avenue. That's not the Crestwood branch.
oh, it was no, Crestwood closed too. Somebody told me they went there and it was closed.
Well,
Well,
it's closed.
they were closed to the public. We don't have public access hours on Thursdays.
Yeah.
We
If you
only
want-
have browsing hours on Tuesday evenings, Wednesday mornings, and Saturday afternoons that
Pat-
you can come in and browse. But
Yeah.
staff is on hand the rest of the week at the library. We do contact-free pickups at the door. And Crestwood, is still smooth sailing. We are not closed because of the COVID the way the Will Library is until the end of the week. Will Library is closed Friday and Saturday this week as well.
Yeah, Pat, if you look at, if you go on to ypl.org, that's the library website, you can see that, I think it's at the bottom of the homepage. You can see the hours for each branch. And so Crestwood's hours are there. And you can also order books online, and they'll be ready for you. You can pick them up outside.
Right.
They'll tell you when, you make a time to go pick them up, so.
December 3rd, isn't that when our meeting is, on the annual meeting?
That's
I said-
December 2nd.
Oh, December 2nd, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you very much. Good night.
Well,
Thank you
thanks
so
for
much.
coming.
Thank
Happy
you,
holidays,
everybody.
everybody.
Okay, bye-bye.
Thank
That
you
was a
so
great
much.
talk. Thank you, Dr. Pat. Awesome talk.
Thanks. This was great.
Very-
Be good.
Very good.
See you
Bye-bye.
soon.
Love that light bulb, Marianne. That was awesome.